Laserdicks, you sexy motherfuckers.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Laserdicks. As you can probably tell by the music, we are doing a special Star Wars episode.
Ooh.
Yes. So originally we had recorded episode 2, which was a very just calm episode about us talking about some of our prized possessions. But then I realized as I was uploading the episode, it's going to be released on December 18th, Star Wars Day.
Today!
So I got Ken back in the studio so that we could talk about Star Wars. Originally we didn't want to do this until May because that's traditionally Star Wars month, because that's when everything except for The Force Awakens came out in theaters, because George Lucas loves his birthday, which is late May. I don't know the exact date, but that's because I don't really care about George Lucas. Suck on it. But yeah, so most of the movies came out in the latter half, or even the third or fourth week of May.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we're going to do that. But J.J. Abrams and Disney, probably more Disney than J.J., decided that Episode 7 is going to come out in December. So we're doing a Star Wars episode in December, and I'm calling this one the definitive Star Wars Laserdisc episode because... real quick before we get in too far into it, I'm Chris.
And I'm Ken.
And we are the Laserdicks.
Yeah.
So,
look at that big box.
Yeah, right. As you can probably tell from my grunt, anyone who knows about Star Wars Laserdiscs knows that we got to have the definitive collection.
Mm.
What was this, 93? Yeah, right?
No.
I should know. I should have this page open before we start talking. The definitive collection.
90. You were right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah. So this bad boy came out in 1993, and it is considered amongst most Laserdisc fans and Star Wars fans as just like it says, the definitive collection of all three of the original trilogy.
Well, exactly, because up to that point, they just had the individual releases.
Yeah, this was really the first time they had a box set. I think. This is about the same time that my VHS box set was printed,
mm-hmm.
Which I still own, which I still watch. Well, actually, I kind of traded up for the Laserdisc when I picked it up. And this is kind of the one of the last bastions. Bastions?
I'm not sure which.
I don't know. Well, this is one of the last real versions of it that you got before all the special editions. We'll talk about another release that came out a couple years later that Ken owns that is the final release.
They literally printed on the package.
Yeah. But so a lot of my Laserdisc buddies online, Josh Lightfoot, Donovan... I feel bad that I can't remember his name because we just looked at it. Donovan Frost and Laserdisc Turtle all kind of agree that this is the one. This is the one that actually helped kickstart a lot of people's collections too, because they got they like me, and this is really the one I think I mentioned in the first episode. This is the one that really helped start my collecting hardcore. Because this is the one that a lot of people, they got fed up with the special editions, and they're like, we don't like them. We just don't.
Han shot first.
Yeah, we all have our reasons. Most of them revolve around Han shooting first. Most of mine actually revolve around Return of the Jedi, because that one's always going to be my favorite. Sorry to everyone that thinks that Empire's the best. You're allowed to think that, but I disagree. Please respect my decisions as I respect yours.
Well, I mean, I don't have to agree with them.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it's fine. As we're doing right now on Geek Out Show proper with the commentaries, we're doing a Star Wars series, and we're divided between the four of us as to which one's our favorite. Sadly, no one likes Star Wars as the best one. Not to say
Really?
we don't like. Yeah, no, it's me and Sam.
Uh-huh.
We're Return of the Jedi, and Josh and Jake are both Empire Strikes Back.
I mean,
no one has Star Wars as their favorite. Not saying that we don't like Star. We all love We all love all three of them. But it's just which one's the favorite. Anyway, back to Laserdiscs.
Okay.
We don't need to get into who's favorite. What's the best Star Wars movie, because we all know it's Episode 1. As everyone stops the podcast. So
boo.
Yeah. So for my personal story with the definitive collection is I got tired of the special editions, and I got tired of watching my VHSs because they're full frame. The audio kind of sucks, and also just VHSs just aren't that great quality, especially when you've played them 20 times,
Oh, exactly.
or 100 times, or however many times you've played them. So I started looking, and I found out that there was Laserdisc releases, and I was like, oh, Laserdiscs, that cool thing that my dad used to have back in the day. This is about 10 years ago. So I kind of like dug up the Laserdisc player, dug up all the old Laserdiscs that we talked about last episode, and then I started, I was like, okay, cool, it still works. And I found on eBay some dude that was selling the definitive collection, and he was only selling it for $25.
That's a steal.
It is a steal, because later doing some research, this thing, when it was released in 1993, $250.
And I thought like Blu-ray stuff these days was expensive.
Right. Well, I mean, you're getting a box set of 3 movies. So your average Laserdisc, I believe, was about $30 a movie.
Yeah.
So that's $90 right there.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting CAV quality, which pretty much doubles the price of the Laserdisc.
Because you got to have more discs.
Yeah. So that's $180.
Mm-hmm.
And then you get this sweet ass book called George Lucas, The Creative Impulse, which is basically a biography about Lucasfilms from its inception back in, I'm sorry if I get the date wrong, but I don't feel like cracking open the book, 1971, when he made THX 1138, up until 93. So you get all the Star Wars movies, you get all the Indiana Jones movies, you get both of the American Graffiti movies, which I didn't even know there was a sequel until I was flipping through the book today. You get Howard the Duck,
God.
Leah Thompson is beautiful, so I will not have you saying bad things about Howard the Duck. It's the only good part about Howard the Duck. She has sex with a duck.
That's a good thing?
No, her being in it.
Okay.
But so, and then and there was a whole slew of other movies. Twice Upon a Time, which is actually like, I had no idea it was Lucasfilm. It's an old animated movie. It's from like, I should know this because I was just flipping through the book, but it's mid 80s.
Okay.
And it's this animated movie about the like basically the clock that controls time. One of the springs like flies out or gets stolen or something like that, and these two guys, these two, for lack of a better term, Time Lords, because they're like the guardians of the clock, or they work with the guardians of the clock, have to go out and find it. And it's this really neat animation style that basically it's like cartoons drawn over still frames of like real life, because all of time is stopped. So like these little cartoon characters can run around in the real world.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
So yeah, it's really cool. Check it out. Maybe I'll buy it and we'll have an episode about it, because I'm sure it's on Laserdisc, because Lucasfilm had a hand in it. Anyway, so that book is awesome. And I'm sure they could sell that for like at least $50 by itself.
Yeah, because it's the same kind of quality as that Back to the Future book we got.
Exactly, which was $50. Which I was really upset because I found it on Amazon like the next day and it was only like $35. And I was like, God damn it.
What?
Yeah, right?
Well, we got it first by a day.
It's true. That's true. And we got it at the event. Anyway, that's a different story altogether. So you get all that, and by my simple math that I just did, it's about like a $230 value. Then you get in this cool box.
It's a nice box.
So why not? $20 more. Boom, $250. I just validated why it was $250. You're welcome, CBS Fox. Which, personally, Star Wars is the only reason why I know CBS Fox was a merger.
Yeah,
was a company because it was on all of my stuff, and like I looked into it, and CBS and Fox had like a partnership for home video releases for all of the 80s.
Well, yeah, because back then, like you wouldn't say like the same movie production and video production went hand in hand.
Yeah, a lot of movie studios didn't have their own home video studio, and I mean, granted, the home video was still a relatively new thing because we're talking like 81 that this company came about. I want to say most home video stuff was like late 70s at best. You know, so that's like Star Wars helped the insurgence of home video, which is great. So big thing about this is that I love it because it's the best quality that I've seen of these movies on Laserdisc. Because I also own the same year, the 1993 single. Not issue, but I was about to say single issue. The single movie releases of all 3 films. I did that because I was tired of flipping the discs so often. The definitive collection, since it is CAV quality, that means you can only have about 20 minutes of movie per disc or per side. Sorry, so that's 3 discs, 5 sides for each movie. 6th side is all supplemental material, which is cool because then you have like little behind the scenes featurettes, interviews, the original trailers and stuff like that for each movie. So that's cool. And this collection was one of the first movies to have like commentary on it too, because you could. I mean, maybe not one of the first movies, period, because they had been doing it on Laserdiscs, but like it just wasn't a thing before Laserdiscs. Like you couldn't do that on Beta, VHS, Video 2000.
We were looking that up earlier.
Yeah. So like, I have a Laserdisc player that's capable of switching between digital and analog audio, so I can listen to the commentaries. Main problem with it is that it's on like random tracks, and for some reason when they recorded the commentaries, they didn't also record, or it's just a commentary track. No film audio available. So for those tracks that do have commentary, you need to know and switch it over, or if you leave it on the entire time, you're not getting film audio, and therefore you're getting silence for the tracks that don't have commentary.
I wonder, like, if there's like a definitive point where they started, okay, let's get the cast and crew together, just sit them down and start recording like a full session rather than like, let's just do one or 2 scenes.
I think that was kind of a Criterion thing because like I've noticed, like I've looked at a lot of my Criterion collection movies, and like they're the ones that really kind of like started commentaries, or at least like they're the ones that like, oh hey, this one's Criterion and it has commentary, and like I find that that's more frequent. I don't know definitively.
Okay.
But yeah, so that's what I've noticed. While we're talking about it, my copy of Clerks on Laserdisc, it does have the commentary and then the movie audio mixed together. Very poorly. I can barely hear Kevin Smith talking.
Here's the point where...
Although Chase and Amy, perfect. I think Chase and Amy... We'll have an episode about Kevin Smith movies sometime down the road, but like he knew what he was doing with Laserdiscs most of the time.
Well, we should, because I mean, he had that huge collection.
Yeah, exactly. So, Star Wars. So, we've talked about the definitive collection.
Okay.
It's Beast.
It's a beast.
It's 13 pounds. I looked that up. It's actually listed. Like someone was like, it's 13 pounds, and I was like, I believe it. I could do like a mini workout with it, you know.
A New Hope, Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah. So I have that because I really wanted it in like really nice quality. Got tired of flipping sides, so I went and bought the same year release individual releases, which are in CLV quality. So they're for the most part, I believe, there are 3 sides. Okay. So they're half as many discs.
Okay.
Like them, and I love them because they're the hand-painted poster covers. So we got Star Wars, not A New Hope, because I've stopped calling it A New Hope.
So Star Wars with like Luke on the front, Leia on his leg.
Yeah, the classic Star Wars cover with Luke holding up the lightsaber and Darth Vader's silhouette kind of in the background. This is done by Tom Jung.
Okay.
Very basically, if you think of Star Wars, you think of this poster.
Oh yeah.
And I love it. Then we've got Empire Strikes Back with the one that's like you got Luke on the Tauntaun front and center, and then like what my eye always gets drawn to is the Han Solo Leia, like dip kiss,
kind of like Gone with the Wind.
Yeah, and that's Richard Castell.
Mm-hmm. Actually, it's funny. I'm just going to point this out. Like,
yeah.
They've got Yoda here superimposed in, and I don't see him on the poster over there.
Oh, that's interesting.
Huh.
Oh, I wonder if that was just for the Laserdisc.
The more you know.
And then I'm going to defer to you for the pronunciation of this man's name.
Kazuhiko Sano.
Yeah. While we were getting ready to do it, every time I pronounced it, Ken was correcting me, and I was like, you know what? Fine, you say it on the podcast.
Thank you. 3 years of Japanese college level.
But yeah, so he's the one that drew Return of the Jedi, and I don't know exactly why, but for some reason, this is always the poster that I think of when I think of Star Wars, and I think more likely than not, it's because back in the day, my dad had the Betamax of it, and that was the cover for the Betamax.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the only home video of Star Wars in any of the movies that we had until I got that the VHS box set that came out in the early 90s.
Okay.
So, like, when I think of Star Wars, like, specifically, I remember feeling so cool when I was like, hey, wait a second. In Darth Vader's chest, they have the window that the Emperor, his throne is on, and like they have the staircase leading up to it, and I was like, "That's not Vader's chest. That's and like I understood superimposing instantly, like because I never.
It's a metaphor.
I was like 6, so I got those because I got tired of flipping sides because 5 sides is a lot for a movie.
Yeah.
Especially since a lot of the side changes on the Definitive Collection, like I'll praise the Definitive Collection for a lot of things. Their placement of side changes is awful.
Yeah, no, just randomly like, hey, look, there's a scene wipe, and now we got to flip.
Yeah, and partially it's not their fault because George Lucas does like the gradual scene, the swipe.
Yeah.
But like you can't do that in a Laserdisc, so you had to like basically cut at the beginning of the swipe and then cut at the end of the swipe. So you miss the entire swipe while you're flipping the disc. But nothing is as bad as Reservoir Dogs, and we'll get to that at another time.
Oh my God.
But yeah, so those are the ones I have.
All right.
Why don't you talk a little bit about what you got, Ken?
Sweet. Well,
People don't want to listen to my voice the entire time.
Oh, well, thank you. My voice is that much better.
But
so I do have the Definitive Collection as well. Unfortunately, I've got a copy that somebody glued a poster on the front.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I think it was what came like loose in the plastic wrap for the back that was just basically like, oh hey, here's the Definitive Collection. It has all this stuff on it, right?
Yeah.
That blue sheet of paper, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They just trimmed it and then glued it, and now I'm gonna have to find a way to get rid of it because I like the Definitive Collection. Actually, has like this cool.
It's got this
silver,
cool etched in thing. Like you can feel it, and then it's got shiny silver on it. It's very beautiful. Definitely, if you don't own a copy of it, guys, look up a picture. It's very cool, minimalistic art for the whole thing.
And you've adorned yours with signatures.
I was going to get to that later.
Oh,
but
did I jump the gun?
Yeah, I mean, whatever. It's not like we had like an outline or anything. But
I'm gonna rip up this paper.
Yeah. But I mean, well, since you brought it up, I went to celebrate Star Wars in April of this year, 2015.
Oh man,
it was awesome, and I got to meet Peter Mayhew, Chewbacca, Mark Hamill, Luke, and Carrie Fisher, Leia, and they all signed it, and they were all like, "Oh, cool! People still have Laserdiscs," and I was like, "Hell yeah, I still have Laserdiscs." And then it was right after the Trickster episode of The Flash aired.
Of course.
And so I was like, I geeked out on Mark, and I was like, it's so cool that you're still playing the Trickster. And he was like, rad, like did his Trickster voice for me, and I like fucking nerded out so bad.
Oh my God, I love that episode. Like I had to specifically look it up when I read about that. And,
they have a new one coming out, or came out, depending on when this when it airs versus when this episode gets released. There's another Trickster episode in season 2.
Oh, I thought they were dealing with the whole crisis on heroes. And
I mean, there's always Monster of the Week episodes, bro.
That's true. That's true. All right, so let's go to mine. So I've got the definitive collection, and I got like a loose early, like I think it was in the 80s for Return of the Empire Strikes Back. But for the main ones that I've got that Chris doesn't have, right up in 1995, right before they released the special editions, they actually re-released with THX sound all the original episodes. And what we've got here, I think most people had this on VHS. You know, like they've got the half face of Vader, Stormtrooper, and then Yoda.
I remember my Blockbuster. That was like the VHS that they carried.
Exactly. So I think this came out in 1995. I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
that's the 95 release.
And I've got one of them here, and it looks great. Like, it's a mostly black background. It looks great framed. I'm going to be giving that as a gift. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
But then the fated day that everybody cries in infamy, 1997 is when they released the Star Wars Special Edition.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a copy. I mean, I liked it.
In your defense, this is a very nice looking box.
Oh, yeah. It's leather bound. It's got Vader's face on the front.
Kind of in the same vein as the definitive collection.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But this is actually the first Laserdisc that I saw at my friend's house, because like my coworker, he showed me all these different releases that he had, and this stuck out to me because like it's nice. It's a thick leather bound thing, kind of similar to it's not as thick as the definitive collection
because it doesn't come with the book.
Exactly. But it still comes with all the different releases, just they happen to be in the special edition format that nobody likes. But it's got all the movies there, a couple discs each. It's just similar style. Mm-hmm. But I liked it. I got this first, and then I got the definitive collection when Chris corrected me on what was the best looking one.
Does that have for the individual movies, like how the definitive collection kind of has like a sleeve for the specific movies, like that says, you know, again with the very minimalistic, but like being like Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, you know, Return of the Jedi. Does that have the same thing? Because I've never actually looked at the innards.
Let's take a look right now. It's got this nice little
little booklet.
Little booklet here. Yeah. Oh, got some nice little background. But no, it looks like it's
just got the sleeves.
It's got the little Vader on it. I
like that. But I like it. They're personalized sleeves. Like it says Star Wars Trilogy Special Edition on it, and then it just I guess you got to defer to the disc for. Oh yeah.
That's kind of nice.
Oh.
Yeah, I've got a little foam here.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. So they're not actually separated into which movie it is. They're just kind of all there together. That's the same way that my Star Trek movie box set is. Like it's just it's got one big box set, and then you gotta pay attention to what the disc says for which one's which.
Oh geez, wow! I don't even. Oh wow! I don't. Okay, they did separate the movies, but wow, this is all kind of lumped together.
Yeah. Well, I mean the same with the definitive collection. Mm-hmm. Like it still says like. You know, Star Wars. Was it like discs 1 through 3? Empire Strikes Back, discs 4 through 6. You know, like that that kind of labeling. So it still kind of like implies that it's all one thread.
Okay.
You know?
All right. And then finally, the even more outcry. I do have a copy of Star Wars 1: The Phantom Menace on Laserdisc. Now, this is something funny.
Yeah.
There's something really funny. We didn't have many Laserdiscs past 1999, right? When was the last one made?
I believe that was October of '99. I might be wrong with the specific date, but it was Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah.
The Tim Burton Sleepy Hollow.
Well, Japan loves Laserdiscs.
Yeah, they continued making them until I think 2001.
Yeah, right when this came out.
Yeah.
So this is like the last Star Wars movie ever printed on Laserdisc in 2001. And I mean, I haven't watched it yet. I mean, I would like to watch it at some point, but it's a nice copy. Like,
I mean, as a collector, I still like kind of want to get one just because just to have like a more complete collection, but but at the same time I'm still kind of torn with but I hate that movie so much.
I mean, I don't like it as well, but I will still watch it for like the pod racing.
Right. Yeah, I would love to see how the pod race looks on a Laserdisc and also just to have such a late model Laserdisc.
Because it's probably a higher quality.
Yeah, like my Evil Dead 2 was printed in '97, and it's amazing. Yeah. It looks like a DVD.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
And then some of the anime that I've seen too, like it's crisp, it's clean, like it looks fantastic.
Yeah, and we'll have an episode later all about anime and my Evil Dead 2.
Just dedicate a whole episode to that, loving them.
Yeah, yeah. I'll probably talk about Evil Dead 1 in that same episode too, just to make it easier. But yeah. Oh, so it's 2 discs.
2 discs.
And it's got a fold.
Oh yeah, what's in the fold? Because I don't think it has any slip-ins. Oh, I got a little.
Ooh.
It's a nice little picture.
Ooh. There's some more Japanese for you.
Oh, Moonspeak. Oh, this is correct. Here, how to correctly do your sound.
Oh.
Wow.
Oh, is this in surround? Well, I mean, there is a surround, like, kind of thing that you can do with
digital.
Yeah. It sends a stereo signal, but can be interpreted for surround if you have the right kind of receiver, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Some of my Laserdiscs I've noticed are in surround sound, like my Fantasia. It sounds amazing because you sound like you're in the middle of the orchestra.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. No, we'll have to watch that. I mean, when we do the Disney episode eventually.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
This episode has basically been a tease for future episodes, and talking about Star Wars. Star Wars is so cool, guys.
Seriously, I mean, I know that there's like modern day Star Wars we can't really talk about much because not a lot of people like them.
Yeah. I did like them in 3D.
Really? You got to see that?
I did. At Celebrate Star Wars, they had all 3 of them in 3D.
Oh, the prequel.
Yeah, the prequels. Yeah, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. To correct. Yeah, because Episode 1 got a wide release, and then a couple years ago at Celebrate Star Wars in Germany, they had done Episode 2, and those guys were the only ones that got to see it. And then they showed it at Anaheim when I was there.
Okay.
And then they were like, oh, by the way, guys, we're showing Episode 3, and you guys are going to be the only ones that get to see it in 3D.
Oh.
And I got to say, the technology got so much better by the time they did Episode 3 that, like, all the gripes that people had with Episode 1 in 3D, gone.
Wow.
Like, the big problem was that, like, everyone looked like cardboard cutouts just kind of standing there.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what you can do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to get texture.
Yeah, well, by the time Episode 3 came out, they had figured out how to do it, and, like, it was so good. And, like, and I think they did the same thing with Mad Max, because that was post-conversion 3D, and I gotta say, that's one of the best 3D movies I've ever seen. Anyway, not a lot of 3D on Laserdisc. I'm sure there is.
Well, no, there is. You remember you were telling me about that the blue and red, glasses you could get to watch the special edition movies.
Yeah.
That's another day. That's another day.
So, what else we got? Do we have any? You talked about all your collections.
I got my own collections. I'm giving that out.
Yeah.
I mean,
I would like real quick, if you like what we're talking about with the definitive collection, I tried to pull as much information that I could from my buddy Dean Frost's Laser Rot episode about the definitive collection, but I don't think I actually ended up pulling much information that he said. Like, I watched it this morning to I guess more so to make sure that I didn't step on his toes or anything. He does this web series on YouTube called Laser Rot, 2 words, where he talks about a Laserdisc movie or box set in this case, and then pairs it with a beer, and it's pretty fun. I'm not crazy about drinking beers, but it is cool hearing him talk about Laserdiscs. So thank you, Dean. And then yeah, that's about it.
Yeah.
Right? No, you got anything else?
No, I mean, like, we covered all the major...
I was so excited to talk about this, and then I realized that I had somewhere to be right after we were recording, so I've been, like, just rushing everything. and I totally expected this episode to go on for, like, 45 minutes to an hour, and we haven't even hit 30 minutes yet.
Well,
I mean, that's fine. These mini episodes were supposed to be short and sweet. Be on the lookout for proper episode 2 coming next month.
That'll be January.
Yeah, January.
Oh, okay.
Unless we stumble upon some other special edition, and we'll just never do episode 2. I mean, it was just our prized possessions, so we could really just drop that in anywhere.
No, exactly.
There's just randomly in the middle of it, we start talking about how this is the second episode we've recorded, and we recorded it in the same night that we recorded episode 1.
Watch me pull rank and be like, hey, so you know how, like, Evangelion takes place in 2015, then spills over to 2016? We should totally release this in January 2016 about anime.
There we go. That's fine. You know, it is a shame that we didn't start this earlier, because 2015 is the year of Evangelion, and you have so much Evangelion on Laserdisc, or at least so much to talk about.
I could talk an entire 2 episodes on Evangelion. I could just talk about.
And I have Back to the Future Part 2 on Laserdisc, and
we
didn't
just
get
do
to
Back
talk.
to the Future, because we're both Back to the Future.
That's
fans.
true. We might save that for October.
Really? All right.
Well, I mean, that's more things happen in October in Back to the Future time. I mean, we'll do it whenever we want, but
Come on, November 5th, 1985. That's
I mean,
no,
if you
1955.
if you want to wait until November, October comes first.
Well, put the red letter day inside.
Okay, this is all stuff that we should be talking about off mic. Anyway, so that's Star Wars. Where did this fall in your collecting? Was Star Wars the special edition one?
I'd say this
Did you
is
say
like-
that was the first one?
I would say this is the first one after that big anime dump.
Right.
Because I got all those at one time, and I was like, you know what, this could be a thing. And then this was the first like eBay, like, hey, my coworker had this. I
Gotcha.
gotta get that.
So it was kind of like mine because I had the collection of stuff already.
Mm-hmm.
I think technically I did get the Michael Jackson Laserdiscs that I own first because I have Moonwalker and the making of Thriller. Those were both big parts of my younger years, and then like I think because of that I started. I was like, maybe Laserdiscs are an option for for Star Wars. So, thanks, Michael, and thanks George Lucas.
No, don't thank him.
Yeah, right.
Well, I mean, I guess he did a couple things.
Thank him for the Laserdisc. Oh, you know what we didn't talk about? The link between Star Wars, the further links between Star Wars and Laserdiscs.
That's right. That's right.
So George Lucas had an editing. I almost said software, but not even software. Like a whole editing apparatus that focused around Laserdiscs, and basically it used Laserdiscs as a storage medium. And a couple years ago, there was a big article or headlines, not just an article. Somebody found one of the old Laserdiscs that they stored a lot of footage on and sold it at auction, and it like made like $700 or something like that for a single disc. And it just has like, it's full of like alternate takes and stuff and deleted scene kind of things from both Empire and Return of the Jedi. Mainly a monologue from Yoda that kind of like weirdly changes the motivations of like not telling Luke who Vader was, if I remember correctly. We tried to find it before we recorded the episode, and all we could find was the sandstorm scene where right after they rescue Han from Jabba's palace, and I think with that one, like they were like, it's cool, but the sandstorm just takes up too much. You know, it just doesn't look good. So they repurposed a lot of the dialogue for in the cockpits of the individual ships as they're flying away from Tatooine. Basically, just saying, Han talking to Luke and being like, well, thanks for rescuing me. See you when we see you.
Well, no, I mean, like, Tumblr took that scene and was, like, erupted with fandom. It was like, hey, this shows that Luke and Han are, like, pretty close buddies. I mean, it's like, I think I owe you, kid. Just, like,
even in the scene that made it to the cut, Han's like, I owe you one.
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Like, it's come on, kids. Come on, fanboys. It's just another way of shooting the same scene, and there's a reason why they didn't choose that scene.
Oh, yeah. Like, when we watched it, like, it was obvious it was not going to be a good scene. Like
just like those alternate takes of like training with Yoda, like they look ridiculous because they were ridiculous. Him like swapping around with the lightsaber.
Sword.
Yeah, the fucking weird metal thing that Yoda's holding that just like kind of flies away. It just looked bad because they didn't it wasn't necessary, and they were like, you know what? We have the cool floating rocks thing. We have Yoda pulling the ship out of the thing. And then, like, in Jedi, they were like, you know what? We could just do this in a fucking cockpit. There doesn't need to be a sandstorm on Tatooine. People will get it that they're flying away from Tatooine because they just saw them leave Tatooine.
Well, yeah, because, like, I think the only other point they mentioned sandstorms on Tatooine is Episode 1. So, at that point in time, they didn't really make need. Oh, wait. Did they talk about it in New Hope?
I don't even know. I don't even know.
Yeah. But yeah, that was. I mean, that's pretty much where you can get a lot of the deleted scenes.
Yeah.
I mean, because.
Oh, I just remembered another great part about the definitive collection. In the Return of the Jedi supplemental, the sixth side, music video for La Tinec, the song that I believe Ula dies to in Return of the Jedi in Jabba's palace.
Is this the one where they added the CG
La
one?
Tinec. It's the original song.
Okay. Not this.
I don't know what your special edition.
I just have horrible memories of like the CG lips.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no, that right there is like my biggest gripe in the entire series of special editions. Like, I fucking hate that song.
Oh my god. It's not necessary.
Latinec is the song that you need.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, then what do you feel about like the add-in for Jabba in the episode 1?
That's stupid too. That's stupid. It ruins the menace of Jabba. Like, I no longer think that he's dangerous because fucking Han steps on his tail and nothing happens. You know, and Han talks his way out of being with Jabba. Like, if Jabba was really like the fucking godfather of Tatooine, Han would have not survived that encounter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't have seen him anyway.
Yeah,
so.
and also a lot of the dialogue redundant from what just happened with Greedo. Like, we got the situation. We don't need to hear it again from Jabba's mouth.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I mean, I think that pretty much wrapped it up.
Yeah. And Han didn't shoot first. He's the only one that shot.
I like that, Kings.
So, this has been another episode of Laserdicks.
Yeah.
I'm Chris.
And I'm Ken.
And flip the Laserdisc turtle over.
So the Force will be with you.
Sure. We don't have an outro, so bye.